Okay, so changes for the studio. Do you want to? You said that obviously ballrooms like become the bigger arm of the studio.
I'll tell you what. So I've lived here for 2 years now, a little bit, two and a half years. And since I moved here till now, there's a huge change in demand for ballroom.
Interesting.
Overall, like there's a lot more people interested in it. There's a lot more studios opening up. Unfortunately, there's a lot of studios closing down as well.
Okay.
But there's a lot more kids who are now participating in competitions, way more than it used to be. Because Florida, I don't know if you remember back in the day, like Florida used to be the social kind of social ballroom aspect of the community. And now it's a lot more competitive. There's a lot more kids participating now. Like you can see it just across the competitions, you know, now they have like semifinals, quarterfinals. This never happened before.
Really?
Like it never happened before. Well, not in Miami at least, not since I was coming here.
Right.
So there used to be a lot in California, a lot in New York. Utah is huge.
Okay.
But Florida was always a retirement state and vacation state. That's where people go to relax, not to go, you know, training. So we're trying to change that up. You know, we're trying to put Florida on the map as the ballroom community. And you can come here, you can chill on the beach a little bit and then do some training.
That's not bad. Do the kids that are coming, are they, do you see any American kids? Like not American kids even from like parents of other descents, but like born and raised American kids being like, I want to start ballroom. Like, is that a thing yet?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Well, we have, but again, primarily we have a lot of conversion from ballet to ballroom and from jazz to ballroom. And most of those kids, they're not, you know, Russian speaking. They're not a lot of Spanish speaking because you're in Miami primarily. There's a lot of kids who have a lot of energy. Kids who have a lot of energy, they love ballroom. They just love ballroom. That's for them. That's an outlet to, you know, to let the energy out and run around and explore the emotional part of it.
That's so surprising. I love that. I came to Florida in 2003. That's when we moved here. And I was like, I don't know, as good as you could be at that age, I think, whatever, junior 2 in Romania. I had just won the championships and I moved here. My family decided, you know, better life and all that. And I came to Miami because back then, you know, in retrospect, there was not even like Google Maps. So I don't even know how I found, maybe like the yellow pages, I found their white pages, I found like a dance studio. So I only found 2, both in Miami.
Newspapers.
That's
crazy. How I found my first studio in Canada as well.
It makes no sense now that you can't just search everything, but we couldn't. So we came down to Miami and like, you know, I brought my tapes and my mom puts them in
tapes, VHS.
Yeah, I know, like there's the little tapes too and the big tapes and, you know, all that. Because my mom was always camcording. And the teacher's like, there's 2 problems. I can't teach him anything. And she's like, I have this one other tape from a Russian or Ukrainian or Polish, obviously one of the, you know, good background of dance girls that she gave me 2 years ago in case somebody shows up and needs a partner. And she was really, really like, she was class E maybe or something like that. So it was, I had to quit because I couldn't live in Florida and also do it at a performance level.
I see.
So it's good that it's changing, and it always made sense. Like there's like a Latin flavor in this whole state. Yeah. It never, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So Latin is growing. Like international Latin is becoming big. International ballroom, not yet. Like it's not making the rounds as much as the Latin, but hopefully it follows. You know.
Hopefully, okay. So is your intent to get people from ballet and jazz into ballroom and just have this be a ballroom studio, or do you want to like incorporate the whole
First of all,
dance?
that was never the intent.
Okay.
We want to offer the kids the opportunity to do ballroom.
Okay.
Because this studio was primarily ballet and jazz and hip hop.
Okay.
And it didn't have ballroom. And apparently they did a ballroom program back in the day and it just didn't go well. So they just scrapped it out, you know.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, you know, if it's not bringing in kids and it's just taking up space, you know, get rid of it. So then when we came in, we started the ballroom here. So right now we still have like the main programs are ballroom and ballet. Those are kind of the main ones. And we let the kids and the parents choose whatever they want to do, and we always listen to the teachers. If the teacher says, hey, this kid, they have potential in doing this, we'll always have a conversation with the parents and let them know that, your kid is got the spark, and they have something special.
Yeah.
And they love to hear that as well.
100%, parents and kids.
But some parents, not so much. Some parents a lot of parents, they put their kids into too many activities. Like a kid will be doing, soccer and piano and ballroom and then sing, So they're very limited in how much time they can actually. But when they get to a certain level, you have to do more. Like you need to put more time into this,
right.
And a lot of parents, maybe they don't understand that. They've never been through that. So they just, you have one day with a kid, a week. That's what you got.
Cool. And then it's just fun, which I think it's still something, right? It's
something, but because we're a competitive studio, we always want the kids to reach their potential and beyond. That's the dream. That's the dream. I want to have students who surpass everything I've achieved. And I did quite a few, in my lifetime. And I want students who go way, way beyond that.
Okay, so let's rewind the time back to your birth. No, not your birth. But tell me what had to happen and where you were also for you to start dance.
Oh, my parents. My parents, they kind of... Ukrainian parents don't ask you if you want to dance. They just say, you're going to dance. And then, I was crying and I was devastated.
Because you didn't want to?
I didn't want to. I was playing soccer, I was good in sports. So I'm doing my thing, I'm having a good time. My parents go, you have a class on Thursday. And I was like, you know what I said? I go, what did I do to you? And I was bawling. I was young. Yeah. And then, but they said, Anton, if you go for class, we'll buy you a computer. And back in the day, buying a computer, and we were not in a position, we were not in a position to afford a computer, where we were, and But I was I'm fine, I'll do it. And then I started with, it was kind of like jazz ballet classes.
Okay.
They were offered at our community center. And so I tried it, and I was first class was okay. I didn't mind, it wasn't bad, it wasn't good. Second, third, you make some friends in the class, so you feel already a little bit connected to it. I was active kid, so I always liked, if I have to sit down and do something boring, I would hate it.
Right.
I know that for a fact. So dancing was right in line with the things I like to do. And then from then on, I switched to breakdancing. And it was street breakdancing. It was just a bunch of guys getting together.
Yeah.
And just VHS cassettes, we had recordings, and we just learn moves and we try to do them.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I have a brother. He's a year and a half older than me.
Okay.
Almost 2 years older than me. And he is a professional breakdancer right now.
Stop.
So basically, we did breakdance. From breakdance, we met a few guys who did ballroom dance.
Okay.
And we went into a ballroom class as well. So both of us were breakdancing and ballroom dancing kind of in parallel. And then when we moved to Canada, was 2001, I quit breakdancing and he quit ballroom dancing. So we just kept...
Did you guys talk about it? You're like, hey, listen, we have to specialize. We can't compete against each other. You have to.
And we're so competitive. I think one of the best things about having a brother, I think, especially when your age difference is so narrow, is you become very competitive. In a good way, you learn to become competitive, and especially being competitive with your brother is not the same as being competitive with a friend.
Right.
Because there's no limits. If you're competitive with your brother, there's no limits.
Right.
You compete about anything,
Right.
Whose knee is stronger, there's whose head is gonna hit the wall the hardest, there's no. And so then he stopped ballroom dancing, I stopped break dancing because I was getting injured all the time. I had funny buildup here in my wrist, my hip bones were always popping out.
Wait, what year was this?
2001.
Okay, so you were a kid still, 12?
Yeah, 13,
13,
yeah.
Okay.
And I was doing head spins, head spins spinning your head, and my hair started falling out.
Wow.
Right on just the middle of my head, it's a little too soon. It's a little too soon. And then my brother learned afterwards, you have to wear put on a helmet, you have to put a hat, 4 hats, you know. Yeah. And so that's it. And from that point, I did my ballroom dancing, he did his break dancing, and fast forward to today, I'm a professional ballroom dancer. He's a professional breakdancer.
That's wild. Is he still in Canada?
He's still in Canada, yeah.
Does he have a breakdancing studio?
He doesn't have a studio. He has a crew. So
okay.
he has like a crew of guys, and they do performances together, and kind of he runs the show there. And he was always, there's just too much politics, there's too much this and that. So he's like, I don't want to interfere with whatever they're doing, because it's just going to degrade what we do. So we just want to, go out, enjoy what we do, and just show the people the, the skill and the quality.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, I'm going to jump around. I want to come back to Ukraine back in the day, but I have a question because you just mentioned it. How do you think you can, or what's your approach rather to the politics that exist?
The way I approach politics is the way, I think the way I approach politics now is the same way I was taught to approach politics when I was competing.
Okay.
And just put it aside, ignore it.
Okay.
There's always been, there is, and there always will be. It changes, like there's an evolution in politics, because back in my day, it was, we didn't have 3-4 federations.
Right.
Like it was just one. You're an amateur, you're going to compete against all amateurs,
Right.
And you get to the world championship, and that's the only world championship in your style, in your category. So if you're a world champion, you're a true world champion,
That's it.
And there's no arguing about it.
Right.
If you're in pro, the same thing,
Right.
If you're in pro and you're world champion, you are like Brian Watson is the world champion.
Yeah.
And the way my approach when I was competing was have a team of teachers you respect and you look up to. Can be, 3-4 teachers who can kind of guide you from different sides. And you have a mentor, you have a coach who is going to oversee basically the whole thing, like how everything functions.
Okay.
And of course, you can swap things in out, like in and out. But stick with that, kind of close in all the noise from the sides, just stick with it and just go through. One of my teachers, Fabio Salmi,
Yeah, I said that with him.
he told me actually back like when we started just working with him many years ago, he said something, with Italian accent, I'm not going to be able to replicate it the same. He said something within the lines that you will do as well as you trust your teacher. So the more trust you put into your teacher, the better you're going to do, basically, long term. And he goes literally, if I say you have to stand on your knees, you have to stand on your knees. You don't even ask, why am I doing this? You have to do it with a smile on your face, 100%. So you have to trust the process.
Right.
Because you're putting pieces in a certain positions that you can't micromanage everybody. Like you're going to have a dance partner who's hopefully on the same page as you, right? You guys are going in the same direction. If you don't, I highly suggest swap. Dump the partner, find another one who is aligned with the line, with where you want to go. Sure. Find a teacher who you trust, and I think nowadays there's enough teachers to find. To look around, and whatever they say, you have to go with it.
So in a sense, it's like your home teacher that dictates everything, because if you trust them and they say you should train with this person and this person and this person's going to become your mentor, they put together the whole team.
I think like to a certain age, yes. To a certain age, yes. I think when you turn more professional, you can, to a certain degree, take on that role yourself.
Okay.
Because you have more brains, you can understand your system of dancing, you understand, the things that work for you, the things that don't work for you. And so you can be much more involved in building that system. But I think up until you're professional, if you're an amateur, you should have like the head runner, like your coach, a mentor, who you trust. Either somebody who has done it before for themselves or who has, grown a student who has done it before as well.
Yeah, done it for others. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning of your journey.
The back in the day. How long did it take for you to get from, day one of class to first ballroom class? Around 10
DanceSport,
around
ballroom.
10 years I started ballroom, which is relatively late.
For Ukraine,
like
especially.
For Ukraine and the people we competed with, it's kind of, you start at 10, it's doable. I mean, I know kids who started at like 16, 17.
Yeah.
And they did, like Joanna Wilkinson. I don't know if you know, she was dancing with Ricardo.
Okay,
Back in the day, they won the amateur worlds.
Yeah.
And I heard that she started quite late, like I think when she was 18.
Wow.
And she ended up winning the world championship in amateur. And she was fantastic. She was like wildly fantastic.
So it's doable.
I think it's doable. I'll tell you from my perspective, if I would have started earlier, especially ballroom, I would have quit.
Makes sense.
Because I was a soccer fanatic. Like I like to, do sports, boyish things like breakdancing,
Right.
And ballroom dancing, especially at that age, you have people talking, oh, this guy's dancing, this and that. So you have to have some self-confidence. You have to have some brains to understand why you're doing it. And especially at I think around 10 years old, you can understand that, being in a class with girls is pretty cool. It's pretty good. But I don't know, just recently I was thinking, I'm like, when did I have my first crush? Like my first crush, I had in grade 1.
Okay.
And it was a girl who sat in the back. I was in the front desk. She was in the back desk. And she was like a little bit more tanned. And I remember first day I came first class, I was like, oh,
wow.
that girl. So, I mean, but it depends. With everybody's different.
Yeah. And then from when your first ballroom class, how long did it take you to achieve any sort of results that were encouraging, let's say?
See, that's a good question. See, that's an important question because I think a lot of people overlook that. They think you start ballroom and then you're going to train. And then, a couple of years later, you're at the top. Could be. If you kill everybody else, take out the competition. For me, it was my first breakthrough, significant breakthrough, was 2008, I think, or 2007 World Championship.
Okay.
So I was going from youth to adult. It was my first year in adult. And I made the World Championship final in 10 dance. And that was okay, you're a fresh amateur, fresh adult, and you're in the final and I was, I think, 5th, so I wasn't even last, bottom of the barrel. And I had a few, 2-3 years of intense training. Because when I was in junior youth, I was last in Toronto. I remember there was a competition, 7 couples, I was 7th.
No way.
For multiple comps in a row, And when I tell this story to most people now, they're like, no way, dude, you are the Anton, But I truly enjoy dancing for dancing.
Yeah.
I enjoy dancing for competition, but I enjoy dancing because of the dancing aspect.
Right.
I like that movement to music, understanding the mechanics in the body, interaction with the partner, really nice people in the competition. It's a competitive aspect as well. So for me, that adrenaline rush is
the sportsman.
You can only get it if you skydive. Okay, I think
Right, fair.
So for me, we're going from last in the final in local competitions to finalist of a world championship within, I think, 3 years.
So when did you leave Ukraine?
2001.
And you went Ukraine, Toronto?
Ukraine, Toronto.
What drew you or brought you to Toronto?
Yeah, my parents, of course.
Okay, so it's
actually
still
funny enough,
better life.
We applied. yes, we applied to go to US. So I have my dad's side of the family lives in New York. Okay. So my parents, they applied to immigrate to US, and we got denied. So we're okay. Next obvious option is either Canada and Australia. So that was the 2 options. So we ended up choosing Canada. That's a pretty good choice.
Yeah.
I loved, when I was living in Canada, especially young, fantastic. People are so nice, The weather is, at that age, it is what it is. It's a smooth transition from Ukraine to Toronto, because the weather's about the same. But then when you grow older, you realize things you like and the things you don't like. You start asking more deep questions. And for me, the big one was okay, I hate winter. I just don't like winter.
Yeah.
I love winter for 3 days.
Right.
If I take a trip now, let's say to New York, or if I take a trip back to Toronto to see my family, it's beautiful, Just enough, you get that freeze and you're like, okay, coming back to Miami. But 8 months of that.
Yeah. Ooh,
unless you really like skiing and snowboarding. If you like that, I think it's a good place to be.
Were you a national champion in Ukraine when you moved?
Oh no, I was bottom of the barrel. I was beginner in Ukraine.
Okay.
I was doing formation actually. I started dancing formation, and then I moved to Toronto, and there I took up, I went straight to silver level, I think, bronze silver level.
Okay.
And from there, I started to take it a little bit, more and more and more.
So there was some culture of ballroom in Toronto at that time already?
Also, was not a lot. But it's like you said, my parents, they opened the newspaper and they saw the first advertisement there, Ballroom Studio, and it was in Russian letters as well. So we're like, okay, we're going there. And it was a nice lady. It was she had a small studio in her basement. And it was a competitive studio as well. So kind of it fit the profile of what we want to do. And my level wasn't too high anyway, so it doesn't really matter where you go. And from then on, once we knew the market, we knew kind of better studios, then I switched partners here and there. We went to the studio that fit the vision a little bit better.
Okay. It's so interesting. I judged, I think, how maybe anybody would, that since you have the results that you have, you for sure got really good outside of North America and then just brought the talent over. Because I think that's usually how it happens, right?
Typical. Yeah, I mean, it's very common, especially lately.
Yeah, right.
Like COVID days and the war in Ukraine. So a lot of people moved.
And there just haven't been, I don't think that I know of, historically good couples bred from like childhood to adulthood that like have global results in North America.
Not too many, but
right?
they do exist.
Okay.
They do exist.
Well, you're obviously one of the couples.
Yeah.
So you came, you did not so well in youth. What happened between like not so well to like finals of Worlds?
From my memory, there was one very distinct moment when I was youth, maybe even like late junior. We had a teacher come to our studio. His name is Michael Chapman. He's a very famous teacher. He used to be a very famous dancer. He's now a very famous competition organizer in North America. Fantastic guy, fantastic. And he asked me and my partner, do you want to be world champions? I don't know. I mean, at that age, it's like you just do the things you do. You fall kind of in the schedule into, it becomes a discipline to a certain degree, but you don't ask yourself like that questions. And Maura had he asked me that question. My answer was so vague, like, I don't know, typical, And I remember the lesson right after me was another couple. And he asked them the same question. And I was practicing. I overheard, what the question was and what the answer. And they said, yes, we really want to be world champions. And it's the couple I competed with. Yeah. Like, it's the couple that was my age we competed with. And they're like, yes, we really want to be world champions. And I was like, okay, that's a different answer than I gave.
Yeah.
And funny enough, that year they became the junior world champions.
Wow.
And then that was my thought, hold on. Okay, if they can, why can't I?
Yeah.
And if that now for me was a kind of a mental switch of, why can't I dream big and then see where I end up if I see somebody else doing that, especially like it's in front of you and you see it's possible. So for me, that was a big revelation.
Did you start training a lot more hours or go into a lot more teachers, or like was the actual input changed after you made that mental shift?
Yeah, I think so. And plus for me, that was a switch from junior to youth. So I switched a partner when that happened. So I was dancing with a new partner as well. And again, I was at that age, I had a lot of trust in my coach. Like my coach, he says, you need to do this, you need to do more of this. We're going to bring more teachers. And my parents were in line with that as well. Like we were never rich by any means, but my parents, they had like 2 jobs each. So they say, if my coach, his name was Oleg, if he says you have to take 10 lessons with the instructor, listen, we're going to find the money, you're going to take the 10. Wow. So I was so lucky to have parents who are in line and a coach who's in line as well. And a coach who believes that I can do that as well. I think that's one of the most important things, and I can relate to that now. So when I see kids and maybe I work with them for a little while, and in my head I know like this kid has potential, and if I believe they have potential, they like it, and their parents are in line, I think that's the perfect recipe for success.
Yeah, fair. I think that makes sense.
And if it lasts, especially for enough years, and they can withhold all the stress and all the pressure, that's a perfect recipe for success.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So what was your training schedule like in like, let's say, beginning of youth? Like you were still in school. How much did you train in a day, in the weekends, holiday time? Like, what was that?
Very good question. So I think I pushed off the fact that I just hated school. That's been me all the time. I found school boring.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing against people who like school and whatnot. But I had too many teachers who didn't like what they do in school. Like, they don't like to teach, they just show up.
Right.
And so I think that built that kind of inner feeling that school is not for me. So even when it came to like university and college, I never applied to university or college. I was like, okay. And my results started to take off when I was like 17.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, you know what? This is something I can actually see myself doing. So I was putting more attention to self-practicing. So like just you come to the studio and you do the things that you worked on in class or in the group classes or whatnot. I've always had 2 group classes a week.
Okay.
Like the 2 technique classes. I remember it was a Tuesday Latin, Thursday standard. And that was basically my entire dance career was like that. Those classes you train technique. Basic steps, different levels. Typically had, I think it was 4 private lessons a week. That was on regular basis. Rounds and practices. About 2 or 3 times a week. Everything else is self-practice. So you come a bit earlier, you practice on your own, you do the things that you think you should do, you just explore different moves, and then you stay longer after class, you practice the things you learn in class. When I was older, 23, I think 22, we would do it, there was no school. So, I would only teach and dance basically all day. Teaching is dancing.
Right.
So you dance all day. You wake up, you dance, you go to sleep, you're still dancing. You dream about dance anyways.
Right.
I started to burn out, like emotionally burn out. And my coach said, okay, Anton, 7 days a week is too much. So you need a day off. And my dance partner at that point, and I, we had the least kind of lessons and training on Wednesday. So the Wednesday had become that official day off. The weekend was a Wednesday. It's a weird day to have, to have off. But in a way, it's good because if you go to the shopping mall, if you go to events, there's not many events on Wednesday, but typically it's like it's empty. There's not much to do.
Right.
So it's like 6 days of heavy training, heavy duty training, and 1 day off. Okay. And I think for us, that was a good ratio,
Yeah.
to mentally take things.
Was
off.
that the partner that you had when you made the finals in adult, or did you switch again before going into?
I think at that point was already. When I made the finals in adult, it was, I think, 7 days a week. That was 7 days a week. Okay. But it was nowhere nearly as intense as later in the career.
And then what led to the last switch of partners? Or was it the last, or do you have more than one after?
Total I had 11 partners.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a record.
Another record. I won. Competitive,
11 partners, but it's funny because every next partner I danced with longer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
you're making better decisions every time.
Yeah. So my second last partner, I think I danced with, for 5.5 years. But my last partner I danced with, it feels like 100 years. It was like, I think 12 years or something like that. But that was, and I remember the switch between the second last one and the last one was, it wasn't anything like dramatic, But I remember she said, I know you're looking for a new partner. And it was in practice. Like, always shit happens in practice. I don't know if can I say shit?
Yeah, of course you can say shit.
We can go with it. You can bleep it out.
No, I don't like bleeping it out. Real, uncut.
The real, authentic.
Yeah, why not?
Get ready.
Especially dance teachers, I feel like it's nice to be colorful. Be yourself, you know what I mean?
Go heavy, go heavy. Yeah. So she said, I know you're looking for a new partner. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? So what the hell? Things were not going well already. Yeah. So this is in the middle of practice. And then basically that day we split up. We go, all right, you do your thing, I do my thing, whatever. Next day she has a partner.
Wow, so she was looking for a partner.
So apparently, you know how it is. Like in life, that happens. Somebody's gonna accuse you of you doing something that they're doing. Yeah. So that was the case, and at that point, I was looking for a partner for quite a long time. The problem was I was already Canadian champion in tan dance, second Latin, second in standard. So I'm like, okay, obviously you don't want to go down, so you want to go up. So my next partner I was willing to look for internationally. Okay, so I was looking in Europe, and I had quite a few tryouts in Canada and many tryouts in Europe. Pretty cool thing, pretty cool story actually. At the end, I ended up having 2 options.
Okay.
One girl was high rank. She was a world champion, Russian, and she was willing to move to Canada to dance with me. But she was shorter, so the match was not good. Just physical match was not too good. Mm-hmm. And the other girl, she was not as highly ranked. She was quite decent. She was a Bulgarian champion. But she was a good match, like proportionally, right? And I remember we talked to our instructors that we work with, our team. They had their opinions. And I remember my coach at some point said, he goes, listen, you can teach anybody how to dance. Like anybody at that level can get better, right? Yeah. But you can't make somebody taller, arms longer. Like you can't change that physically the way they are. Right. So we ended up going with a girl who is a little bit lower ranked, still good, very talented, very out there, but she was a better match for me physically. And apparently that was the right choice. How old were you at that point? Like 20. I think 20, 21.
Okay. How much of that decision for you? I mean, I know your teacher had his reasons, but how much was it for you? Also, like a chemistry vibe? Because I feel like I never experienced it because I stopped at 14. But I feel like once you're 16, 18, 20s, you also look for like, I'm going to spend a lot of time with this person. Is there something more that we can also become a couple?
You know the saying, a lot of sayings, you know the saying, you truly know the person only when you're getting divorced.
Fair.
Too soon.
Too soon. Yeah, not for me.
I'm quite flexible. Like, I'm very friendly.
Yeah.
I'm quite introverted myself. But whenever I'm around, like in public, I'm quite friendly, and I'm Aries, so I'm quite adaptable, to many different, personalities and whatnot. So I can get along basically with anybody. You really feel it after a little while of going through enough problems.
Right.
So once you face, let's say, a loss, followed by a loss, followed by a loss, followed by a loss, okay, how can that team fix the issues and move on forward? If they're able to do that, that's a good match, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If they're unable, if they're on different page after that happens, one is freaking out, this is garbage, whatever, and the other one is like, well, we have to keep working. All right, honestly, at that point, it's better for both sides, break up, find new partners.
Yeah.
And I got quite lucky because I partnered up with Antoaneta Popova, and she was very easy to work with as well. At that point, I was not so easygoing. I think at that point, I was kind of hard ass.
Fish.
You learn how to work with somebody, but she was very flexible with those things. So we were able to work things out again and again and again and again. And the longer you dance with a partner, typically, the better results become.
Were you and the new partner, did you guys also become a couple, or was it separate for you?
It was separate for us. Separate for us. But, we grew, we had a really close relationship, like really close friendship.
It's hard not to.
You traveled together all the time, and you compete and you go through the stress together. So we were not officially in a relationship, but you learn to grow together.
Yeah. And was it hard for you to both have the time to explore romantic relationships outside of it, since like obviously being a professional dancer is...
Yeah, when we were competing, we didn't really explore that much because you're so far into the game, like you're so crazy, into the game that you don't almost have time to do that. Yeah. But at some point, you have to make a step and you have to go in that direction.
Yeah. And then at what point did you guys decide, okay, we've achieved everything we needed to, we're going to stop? Was it your choice or was it an external choice?
That's a good. You know what? There's a really definite moment where we mutually agreed to turn professional.
Okay.
So we did a lot in our amateur career. Like we won Canadian Nationals 29 times across 3 categories. Okay. So collectively. No, that was me. I won 9 times. I think she won 7. She did 21 times. She did 7 years in a row, 3 categories, so 21 times. We were dancing a world championship in China, I think in Beijing. And then the final, you do solos. So we did the jive. And at that point, they had the system already. At that point, I think it was system 1.0. I don't know, right now it's like system 24.5. It was system 1.0, I think is the first one. And you dance the solo, you stay on the floor, they show a little clip of you dancing, and then they show the marks. So you can kind of, which place you're gonna be, right?
Right.
Now, at this point, we've been competing together for many years. Bear in mind, in 2007, I was in the final of the adult tan dance, placed 5th.
Yeah.
Okay. This is like 2016. Okay. So quite a few years later, we're standing there at the end of our solo jive, and we're looking at the marks, and we're 6th.
You're like, this is not trending in the right direction.
Going too well. And it's funny because quite a few years prior to that, our teachers, our team, they were already hinting, Anton, maybe it's time you turn professional. You have the qualities that professionals do, because as an amateur, you're a little bit more athletic. You're exploring like the extremes. As a professional, you're a little bit more conservative. You show more quality rather than quantity, and I think it sells way better in competition. So they were like, okay, Anton, you have to already, consider turning professional. I was like, no, listen, my dream, world champion. I got it. You have to get there. I have to get there. And the moment we're walking off the dance floor, right after we saw the 6th place, we're walking off, we look at each other, we're like, professional. And it was like the same time we thought that. And literally the next day we called our coach and we're like, okay, we think we're going to turn professional at that point.
Is this also the shift between WDSF and the WDC?
No, we actually stayed in WDSF, and then we won the World Cup. We won the World Cup in amateur after that decision. We still did a World Cup in Vancouver. It was in Canada. So we're like, okay, we're still going to dance like that. And my parents were able to see me compete there. They went to watch. It was awesome. Then we turned professional. We won the World Cup in professional, and then we won the World Cup in professional 10 dance. World Championship in professional 10 dance.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We did a few more competitions, like in Baden-Baden. We did in Germany, made the final in the World Latin as well. And basically at that point, okay, it's almost like you've set a goal, to win the World Championship. You've had that goal your whole life.
Right.
You get there, you achieve it, and then you wake up the next morning and you're like,
now what?
What's
next?
It's like what goes on next? Exactly.
I have nothing else on my planner. Mm-hmm. And then after winning professional WDSF 10 dance worlds, how did you decide, or what brought you back to U.S. federations and WDC and
WDC.
All that?
Well, we considered, if you compete in Europe a lot, it's WDSF generally. WDSF is really heavily developed, and it's a great system. I think I have a lot of respect for WDSF, and I know what the system looks like. I was on the Athletes Commission for like 8 years. So I know what the system works like, and I know the things they do to promote dancing, and I know the developments they try to do inside to make it better. Their Olympic dream as well, and like all that stuff. But if you live in Europe, I think that's the right choice to go.
Okay.
Until maybe you turn professional, maybe. That's up for debate. If you live in North America, nowadays, I believe the strength, the power is WDC.
For sure.
And if you want to develop a business, if you want to develop a good name in North America, it has to be WDC.
Got it.
Regardless.
So it was like continuity. It's like, okay, we've done like the goal of me as a dancer, us as dancers. Now, obviously, the next step is like teaching, clubs, etc. We have to. Yeah. Developing as a professional in North America, I think WDC is the right. Again, that's my personal choice. That's opinion, and I think anybody can fight me on that. you definitely want. I will compete with you on this.
There's a lot who might,
Yeah, for sure. So, were you embraced openly when you decided to come, or was it like you are in Europe now, you're going to need to earn your trust and earn your position here?
Because I've danced, I had luckily a pretty good name in North America to start with. So I was a North American champion twice before the split happened. So my name was already quite good in North America.
I see.
And I think when the split happened and everything was up in the emotions and everything was, a lot of people at that point, was 2012. At that point, a lot of people didn't want us to be doing both, especially in North America. They're like, kind of like, pick one. So we kind of we had to go with our guts. We had to go with our initial goal. Our goal was to win the World Championship, so we had to kind of peel off that way. It was not a popular opinion at that time, but in this day and age, when I came back to WDC, it was a very smooth transition, luckily. I'm very happy to say it was a very smooth transition. And there's a lot of people I don't know when I came in. So for me, there's a lot of new faces because I haven't been around for quite a few years, 6 or 7 years. But a lot of the OGs, the OGs are still there, and they welcome me quite easily. So
That's amazing.
That was awesome.
Did you, at what point did you decide to just not just stick to Latin or standard? Like you were like, we're going to do 10 dance the whole time? Because I feel like you juggle. You juggle a lot. Well, okay, when we competed, we did 3 major comps every year. That's a must. So the World Championship Latin, World Championship Standard, World Championship 10 dance. It really depends where they are on the calendar. Okay, so for example, if you do World Latin and then 2 weeks later is the World 10 dance, there's a high chance you're gonna be better in Latin in that particular 10 dance competition. If the standard one is first, then you're probably gonna prepare more for standard. When it comes to the 10 dance, you just like catch up with the Latin. Let's get stuff ready, and then you come out with standard. Lucky for us, we did. I think we were one of the few couples in the 10 dance world final who were
pretty aligned in our standard lat. We were both semifinalists in standard world championship, and we were semifinalists in Latin world championship.
Nice.
So standard once, in Latin twice, for the record. So our standard Latin was more or less the same level. And it depends how much time you put into it. You know, we work more Latin, you know, Latin goes better, you put more time standard goes better.
Right. Okay, so what do you do today to keep your health in check and to keep your body in shape and your mind in check and all that?
Get ready. Get ready. You have enough battery on the camera? I'll have a lot. I'm a health freak, like a health freak. I started working out like many years ago. Like my grade 12 in high school was 3 courses. I remember second semester, I had a spare. So you can basically have 3 subjects. I had 1 spare, so the 4th one is out. So I have 3 subjects. I had gym, I had exercise science, and I had fitness. Like that was, all of those were in 1 single semester, and then I had a spare, so you get to go home early, you know? And I think from that point on, I was just like health freak, you know, I had to learn how to exercise properly. I had to learn about the body, you know, the muscles and the structure, and gym, you know, you run, you play, you do whatever. But nowadays, I wake up 6:30, I run 5 kilometers minimum. That's every day. I do that every day except for I take 1 day off a week.
Okay.
Normally on the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. Then I teach, which, you know, that's also a lot of exercise, a lot of movement. You burn a lot of calories. And when I finish teaching around 8, 9, I go to the gym. Luckily, the gym is across the street, so for me, it's a quick trip, 1 hour workout, and I'm, you know, typically back home, get ready for the next day. I'm pretty good with food. My lucky thing is that I'm not a foodie. Like, I'm not crazy on food.
That's lucky you for sure.
I think, listen, if you put a good meal in front of me, I'm gonna appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna go out of my way to find like the top restaurant and to, you know, I can stick to my chicken and rice, broccoli, fair. You know.
So you're good at like consistency, like this is my meal prep.
I don't meal prep. Okay. I don't meal prep, but I have like 4 or 5 meals kind of that I cook most of the times, and I just rotate them so it doesn't get boring.
Yeah.
And most of them are pretty healthy. Like they're pretty healthy. I avoid all the seed oils. I avoid like a lot of crap. I don't put too much seasoning. Okay. Some people find it boring, but listen, you get used to it. I think like our palate, you know, you get used to I cut out most of my sugars. Like I don't, and I have a problem with sugars. Like I have a problem. Like if you put a chocolate in front of me and you turn around,
it's gone.
It's gone. Like I have zero self-control when it comes to like chocolate and candy.
I feel you.
So when I go grocery shopping, I do not enter candy aisles.
Good.
So I'm pretty good with that. I just don't have I don't have sugar at home. Like literally, I do not have sugar at home. If I want some sweet, I put honey, like you put honey into the tea or coffee. A year ago, I cut out caffeine completely.
Interesting.
I was about a year ago, I got really sick. So I just kind of scrapped my entire diet, and I kind of started from beginning, kind of building the basics. And one of those things was I cut out coffee completely. And then
Has it made a difference?
It made a huge difference, yes. So I used to have, and I didn't realize it until I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
So legit caffeine addiction is a thing. I was doing about 2-3 cups of coffee every day. And some days, like you'll have 2 cups of coffee, 30 minutes later, you're just like gone. So you're like, you need another cup just to stay awake. And then when I cut it off, it was about 2 weeks, was a struggle, like a bit of headaches and all that stuff. I think we love the taste of coffee, like good coffee, Italian coffee.
Yeah.
There's I like Lavazza and I like Illy, Illy.
Yeah,
that one is good.
Nice.
Especially the decaf. If you ever want to go
That's
to decaf,
what we do, yeah.
Do Illy. Illy is awesome.
My girlfriend's decaf also, and we got Illy decaf, and it tastes amazing. Like whenever we make a pot, I just drink the same because why not?
If you have a chance, get the espresso machine.
So no coffee or decaf still?
Yeah, so no coffee, decaf.
Alcohol?
I do a lot of very rarely. Like if I do alcohol, maybe once, 2 months. Maybe. And it has to be like a special occasion. You meet up with somebody that you haven't seen for a long, long time. And I was never big into alcohol. Like for me, it was never a thing. Never enjoyed it. No recreational drugs.
Any supplements?
Yes. So I do, once in a while, I do smoothies with whey protein. I do a bunch of stuff. I would do like banana. Write this down. It's a really good one. I think
recipe.
It's really, really tasty and really nutritious. So I would do a banana. I would do frozen mango. I would do organic wild berries. Those are really healthy, actually. I would do whey protein. I would do a shot of olive oil in there.
This is where it gets interesting.
And then I would put, what else do I put? I put something else. Collagen powder. And then I put spinach. And then you blend it up, tastes amazing, and it's really good for you.
Olive oil. I've never heard of that.
For me, I have the opposite problem that most people have. I can't gain weight. So no matter, like right now I have 5 meals a day just to pretty much stay the same weight. Okay. Like I've reached a weight that I feel good, like I have enough energy and I don't look like I'm dead. Yeah, right. So I have to keep, just to keep it up, I'm 175 pounds, that range. So I have to have like 5 meals a day with so much activity that I do. I think that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Because I'm so active, all day, basically every day, it just goes right through me.
That makes sense.
But if you look at my dad, I'm like, there's no chance I'm gonna be fat. Zero. There's zero chance I'm gonna be fat.
So lucky.
And I'm like, I look like my dad, like the height is physically identical to my dad.
It's nice. You know your future.
I know. And he's got hair, which is good.
That's also good.
That was also good. My dad has hair, I'm gonna have hair.
Does your mom's dad have hair?
I don't remember my mom's dad.
Okay.
I don't remember him at all. I might have met him when I was super young, but I don't remember him.
Okay.
I'll ask.
Okay. Because I think that's where the gene comes for hair.
Is that right?
That's what I've been told. That's what I'm holding on to because my grandpa on my mom's side had nice hair. So
I was told, if we talk about generation, I was told that addictions skip a generation.
Interesting.
So, and it is for me, I heard this when I was young, so it stuck in my head, and that was always like a trigger, don't go into like too much drinking and too much gambling, whatever. So basically, if your grandpa is addicted to something, there is a chance, there's a higher chance you're gonna be addicted to something. Your grandkids are gonna be addicted to something.
Interesting. And, you have to erase generational addiction.
It's good if you know. Plus, for sure. Listen, I think it's a good thing to bear in mind. You know, even if it's not true, even if it's complete BS, it's better that you consider that than if you don't.
Better to have some awareness around it.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the future and future generations, what does your life look like in 5 years?
All right, Anton on a yacht down the Intracoastal. No, I'm just kidding.
I like it. I'm like, can I get an invite?
Listen, to be honest, I'm relatively very happy with my life right now.
Okay.
I mean, I hate the way it sounds because I'm always like, I gotta move forward. You need to go forward. You need progress. You need to look forward to something. But I'm very grateful to what I have now. I have pretty good health. I have some brains in my head, you know, which is quite good. I have a car that I love. Like I love my car. When it comes to like, let's say if we talk about housing, I'm not a big fan of having too much space. Like to me, it never made sense. People who want to have a big house. Yeah. Me personally, it just never made sense. There's too much empty space, unused, completely unused. But also, you know, respectfully, I come home to sleep most of the time. So there's
a good bed.
But I was a huge fanatic of cars. So for me, since I was a kid, I'm like, okay, I want to have a car. I want to have a good car. And I'm 36, I've had like 9 cars already.
Nice.
I think I told you, I had like, just in 1 year, I swapped 4 cars in Miami.
Wow.
For different reasons, but I flooded one and then another one I just had to get rid of. The first car I got was just a cheap Chevy. Okay. I just needed a car to get around. And at some point I was like, okay, it's time to upgrade a little bit. Now I have my dream car. That's the one I drive now.
I love it.
I don't know, 5 years, maybe have, that's a good question. You caught me in a moment. If I have to look forward. Most likely still in Miami.
Okay.
The studio has grown. A lot more students, a lot more successful students. Maybe additional studio as well. Maybe. That's an option as well. I don't know. I have to explore this.
That's good. No, I think that's.
I'm already poking. I'm poking.
We'll do a recap in like 2.5 years.
We should.
See where we're at. How's it going?
Imagine I'm a bum on the street.
We'll dance for food.
Dancing for
yeah, it sounds so
with
bad.
A monkey on the shoulder.
There you go. It's Miami.
Anything goes.
Yeah,
anything goes.
It's true. Okay, last 3 sort of rapid fire question. First thing that comes to your mind. If you would have never started dancing, if dancing would have never come into your life, what would you be doing today?
Art. I would be drawing, for sure. Most likely.
Do you draw?
I don't draw now, but I used to draw a lot. Like my dad is an artist. He's a really good artist, like a really, really, really amazing artist. And I just growing up, I never really took art seriously. I never took classes, but I was just naturally able to draw quite well. And I enjoyed it quite a lot. In high school, I was exploring the idea of becoming an animator.
Cool.
So drawing cartoons and stuff.
Yeah.
And but then dancing took over, so I just kind of went that way.
Side question, is dance art or sport?
I think dance is art with an element of sport. I think we're comparing two different sides. Like we're just. I don't think it's appropriate questions. Like I know it's so popular, but I don't think it's appropriate question because you're not comparing things that are in the same category.
Yeah.
Dancing is art. Primarily, it's art. It's built on the idea of abstract and moving to music. It's built on that. But in order to become successful or unique or legendary, you need certain degree of athleticism.
Right.
So it's kind of like what is better to draw? You know, a beautiful painting if you have, you know, a set of many colors or if you only have black. That's kind of like the question.
Way to put it, yeah.
It's of course it depends. It depends on the painting, but if you have a full set of colors, you have more options to choose from. That's the way I feel about it.
Okay, I like that. Second question: if you could pass on one piece of advice to young, maybe not even young, old people just starting into dance now, what would you tell them?
I would say be patient. Be patient. Be very, very patient because especially the young generation, they want it now. They need the results now. And I get it. We live in the now. You know, we live in our heads, we live in the now. But if you kind of step outside and you look at the whole picture, it only works out in the future. It always only works out in the future, and it only works out if you stick to the path. So back to what I said, make sure you build a good team. You have hopefully reliable partner. You know, you are also loyal to the coach you're working with, and you're really on the same path. And just be patient. Just be patient. You know, it's hard to tell people that because you know they have to learn it the hard way. Yeah. That's the only time it clicks in their head. Especially, I'm Aries, so the problem with Aries is if you tell me something, my first reaction is no. Like no.
Opposite.
If somebody told me be patient, I'm like, no, I'm not going to be patient.
I'm going to do it now. Then you realize you can't.
But I think that's the only way.
And last thing, when you travel, either for work or pleasure, what are 3 things you can't leave the house without?
Passport, clean undies. That's a must. That's a must. And lately, it's a book. I would take a book with me.
What are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm reading a book called Fast and I think it's called Fast and Ambitious, something like that. It's about a Formula One racer.
Oh, I love that.
And it's just so odd because especially if you're on the plane, you're like the only person with a book nowadays. Yeah. The only for everybody, iPads, iPhones, It's like the weird guy with a book.
With the light on.
I love it, you know, the only light up there.
Yeah, I'm the same guy.
Bothering everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Brother. Thank you.
Cool.
Outro.
Dance
subscribe to the channel.